Hey, Devlin here. I was just about to take a walk down memory lane. Why don't you join me? Well, it's back to school season again, and it doesn't matter how old I grow, September will always be the start of a new year for me. New Year's has never done it for me. It's one of my least favorite holidays, and for me, you have if New Year's is a cold winter's day, then you celebrate it, it's a new year, and then the next day could still be a cold winter's day. But I think it's just the whole, ever since I was a kid, going back to school seemed to be the representation of a new school year. And so for me, as I got older, it didn't matter how old I got, it always just seemed like a new year. It also seems like a nice transition. You got your nice summer weather, and even though we still get warm weather in September, we're starting to seeing fall show up. Cooler evenings, colors in the trees as they go on. So I don't think it matters how old I grow. September will always be the start of each new year. And it also always makes me reminisce about going back to school. I wasn't the greatest student. I did good in some things, English, art, history I think I was okay in, but stuff like math I always struggled. In fact, the one good year I did good in math was basically a little bit of a mess because they put me in a less advanced, we'll call it, math thing, and I did really good. I excelled at it. And then the next year they wanted me to go up to the advanced one. And I wasn't sure about it, but everybody else was like, no, we know, we believe in you. And then as soon as I did, I started failing again, or not failing, just passing, we'll go with. So school was always hit and miss with me, but I always reminisce about going back to school. We didn't have a lot of money, so we would get maybe one new pair of pants and maybe a new shirt. Everything else was either, secondhand or, hand-me-downs. I kind of lucked out on the hand-me-downs because I was so much younger than my brothers that we were almost, close to a decade difference. So the fashions changed. They went to school, secondary school in the 70s where I kind of went in the 80s. So, I couldn't get away with, bell-bottoms and stuff like that. But, I'd be excited. The first day of school, I'd always be excited. You'd have all your new school supplies, I remember having a Snoopy lunchbox. It was the only lunchbox I ever really had. Besides that, we just take bags. And I also lived close to all my schools. So the one year I got a Snoopy school box, but the next years I just stayed home. And that was okay for me because I'd just go home for lunch. And that was much better. I'd get a warm meal and get to watch some Flintstones or Leave It to Beaver, depending on what era we're talking about here. So I'd always be excited. The first day of school, I'd get to see some of my old friends that, maybe I don't, see during the summer. And then, just meeting new people were always kind of neat, or hopefully you like your new teacher and all that. But then usually after about the first week, and I did want to mention this. I always liked going back to school because it always seemed like a fashion show. Yeah, because everybody would have fresh clothes on, and I'd be wearing my new pants and shirt, and then tomorrow I'd be mixing it up with, some of the secondhand stuff or stuff I wore last year and stuff. But everybody was all, you could tell the parents all, made them squeaky clean and everything and that. So it was a lot of fun. And then I had some of my favorite teachers. I went to Prince of Wales in Hamilton, and then I went to Scott Park for high school. Sadly, both of them are gone. They actually went around the same time. And it was actually bittersweet because I was leaving the neighborhood when Scott Park was closing. And it was kind of just weird to, it was like I'm leaving, and that same month was Scott Park's final time. So it's kind of like the end of me all along. It's all about me, isn't it? Everybody thinks the world revolves around them. And I had some favorite teachers, Miss Masadi, Miss Gareth. These are ranging from secondary to high school. Mr. Samahooten, who not only was one of my all-time favorite teachers, but taught me so much about life and did so much for me. He was just so incredible. And I'll have to do a whole segment on him one day just because there's so much to talk about. And then I had some not so favorite teachers that taught me other things about life. I remember having an art teacher named Miss LeBeau, and basically she was, she was a very older, worldly woman. She had traveled the world, she had gone to the Louvre and stuff, but she really believed that, the kids needed to produce things that were like art gallery quality, and she didn't really believe in, having your own flair. And I remember the first year I had her, I literally failed art. And my parents knew something was wrong, and when they contacted the school, they found out that there was only 2 people who passed that class. So they knew Miss LeBeau may have had something to do with that. And she was just like a crazy lady. I learned a lot from her as far as, how not to teach or how not to be as a person. The next year I got her again, and I thought, oh my God, I can't deal with this again. So I took it, and I decided to do everything she told me to do. And it actually destroyed my love of art. I used to love cartooning. I used to love just sketching and stuff. And sadly, I did everything she wanted. I got a really good mark, but none of it was me. It was, this was high school. This is where you're finding your own individualism, and she just didn't have it. If it wasn't, it was my way or the highway with her, and I stopped taking art after that. In fact, I stopped drawing. So if you have a great teacher, they teach you so much about life, and not just like the subject you learn, but a really good teacher can really be good. Of course, this year it's different. With the pandemic, a lot of parents are in fear of putting their kids back, and I don't blame them. I think it's important that the kids have to get back to something resembling as close to normal as possible, but we also have to come to terms with the fact that this could be the new normal and stuff. So I don't envy parents or kids that have to deal with this. Do we do classes with Zoom or like online, or do we go in and everybody wears masks? Do we fear a second wave would come? So I totally get the fears that are out there. And on top of that, the fears of the first day of school. As much as I was excited about going to school, there was always a lot of like nerves, will I like my teachers? Will I have to deal with bullies? Will I have to like do a lot more homework? Any kind of thing like that. So yeah, so if you're a parent or a thing, I wish you all the best. Just follow your head and your heart. Make sure they work together, and hopefully you can figure it all out. Around this time, I like to also watch some of my favorite back-to-school movies, like Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, Breakfast Club, Perks of Being a Wallflower, Rock and Roll High School. There's so many out there, Grease 2. And yeah, and I'll probably be doing that throughout the week or month for sure. So anyhow, welcome to Back to School for all of you new students. I hope it turns out well. I know school can be scary as it is, but the added stuff, I wish you all the best and luck and everything. And thank you for taking this walk on memory lane with me.